This is Trend Following Radio, where great thinking comes alive. Nobel Prize winners, legendary traders, best-selling authors, and the pros that know what drive us irrational human beings. I am your host, Michael Covel. Not filtered, raw, honest. That's my passion. Something I've been meaning to talk about for a while, and this is the notion of Twitter and the stock symbols and the dollar sign, and actually another service out there called StockTwits. And I don't have any personal fight in any of this stuff. I look at the use of information, though, and the use of Twitter, StockTwits, and how people talk about the symbols and the fundamentals that go along with it. And I just always scratch my head because I know the best traders on the planet are not doing any of that, period. They're just not. Absolutely no way, no how is anybody who is truly successful, truly great using this idea of following the symbols on Twitter now or StockTwits and looking at fundamentals all day long and trying to figure out what might be trending over the course of one day. And I use that word trending lightly because it's definitely not how I would use the word trend. That's just not what folks do. And so, I caught an interview, or someone forwarded it to me on CNBC with the CEO of StockTwits, a guy named Howard Lindzen. And Howard was kind enough in the years past. He invited me on his show, Wall Strip, years ago. And he also said some very nice things. I believe it was about my Turtle Trader book. He was a big fan of that. And I know early on he would talk about trend following when I would follow what he was doing. He was talking about trend following. But then I offered some criticism a couple years ago about StockTwits, and I got this vehement, just kind of angry missive directed at me. And I don't have any personal dog in this fight or anything. I just, look, I'm talking about trend following. I'm teaching trend following. I'm showing people all about trend following. And so it's useful to show people things that are not trend following. And frankly, perhaps things that are not useful. That doesn't mean individuals involved in fundamental analysis. There's a lot of quality people involved in fundamental analysis and the use of constant, nonstop news and information. There's quality people involved in that. I think my passion is to show people, though, a better way. And that the idea of following some one symbol all day long, trying to follow the news nonstop is just not really the way it's done. So anyways, interview with Howard Lindzen, CEO of StockTwits, today on CNBC. Let me play a clip real quick.
Joining us now from San Francisco is Howard Lindzen, StockTwits CEO, a disruptor unto himself. Howard, you are an unhappy camper, I imagine, this morning. It looks like Twitter is now trying to ape your product.
Well, good to see you, Andrew. It's been a little while from our Wall Strip days.
Yep.
I would have to say that, I call it a hijacking, but StockTwits is its own community. For example, you go to the iPhone app and you can tune right into what you want and trending. So I would challenge anybody to just side-by-side stocktwits.com, go figure out what you're going to do on Twitter, and you'll see that if you love stocks and you love markets and you love talking about them all day long, StockTwits is a dynamite product. But we started the dollar sign on Twitter. Obviously, we saw it on Twitter and said, well, that would be interesting if we could really bring a live stock chatter. So now 4 years later, once we've built it, they've decided it's successful enough for them to do.
So when you listen to that clip, there's a couple things that I think as an interested observer, somebody who's trying to understand perhaps the best ways to approach the markets, the best ways to trade. There's a couple things that Howard said that I would disagree with. He talked about the notion of things trending, markets trending, news trending, and he's really talking about very short-term time horizon on Twitter or StockTwits, and using that word trending. And that's not trend following. That is, day-to-day mob rules, sheep behavior that can change in a millisecond. I don't think it has anything to do with good investing, good trading, or even good speculation. It's just that kind of following the news that tightly all day long is like sitting at the craps table in Vegas. It's just not the way it's done. And Howard goes on to say in that interview, he talks about that, his service is for those people that love stocks, love talking about stocks, talking about markets, talking about them all day, however he said it exactly, loves talking about markets all day long. Once again, I don't see, love is not an issue for the markets. I mean, you have to be passionate that your first goal is to make money. That's your first goal. There's all these great opportunities to speculate and make money. But the first goal is to make money. That's the goal. And then you say to yourself, what's the best way to do that? Well, the best way to make money in the markets is not talking about, it's not talking about stocks all day long with other like-minded individuals that want to talk about stocks all day long. I know and have learned from some of the greatest traders of the last 30 or 40 years. And I've never had a conversation with one of them yet that's like that. It just doesn't happen. Look, I'm sure, Howard has sharp elbows and I've seen him throw them around, and perhaps he'll not care what I say, or perhaps he will care and perhaps he'll offer some comment. That's fine. Be my guest. But the reality is, for someone like myself, I'm trying to get people to see about good technique, great technique, ways that you can make money. And I don't see this chat room behavior. And this is all this stuff really is, this chat room behavior, this community forum stuff. I mean, if that was the way to go, then I would have seen that behavior amongst the great traders that I have learned from. I would have seen their behaviors manifested in those kinds of things. I mean, truly, trading is not a group behavior. I mean, if you need others to make a decision, you're probably in trouble. If you constantly have to bounce ideas off other people, you're probably in trouble. If you can't just look at a basic system and say, I will pull the trigger, I will not pull the trigger, I will take my loss, I will not take my loss, you shouldn't be doing this. Now, if you're in this for some other reason, and you think about the old, a bunch of attorneys and doctors gathered together at a cocktail party, and they always say, part of the love of stocks is to go to the cocktail party and say, well, my broker put me in Apple, Johnson. What do you think, Willard? Something silly like that. And I think a lot of this stuff today is just that kind of basic cocktail party on steroids. That's what the whole $ in front of the stock symbol on Twitter and a lot of the community at StockTwits and even other discussion forums, it's not the way to do it. Now, some people that listen to me are going to say, well, no shit, Covel, you're beating a dead horse. I get it. I've got it for a long time. Well, maybe this message is not for you. This is the message for somebody who's new, who is trying to decipher, like, okay, Michael Covel and quite a trend following army is over here talking about this mechanical approach, using systems, using price data, and they are completely the antithesis, the polar opposite of looking at day-to-day machinations of news and trying to predict or forecast or use some bit of news that's just happened to make a market decision, to try and make a buy and sell decision. I mean, just at a very basic level, almost a Zen level. Imagine yourself, you're trying to figure out, really, this is what you're trying to do with speculation. You're trying to figure out a good business plan. What are the consistent principles that you're going to believe in? Well, you have to have a diversified group of markets that you're following, number one. Number two, you have to have an entry strategy. You know when you're going to get in. Number three, you really have to know how much you're going to bet of your limited capital. You don't have unlimited capital. And 4 and 5 is you have to know when to get out with a loss, a small loss, or how to get out with a gain. And those rules are so much more governing to your success ultimately than thinking, some anonymous person online has just said something about some market, so you're now going to take an action. I mean, it's kind of helter-skelter. I mean, think back to the classic Beatles song. I mean, it's really kind of helter-skelter. It's not the way to go. It's not the way to be. It's not the way to be great. And once again, it's not a personal criticism against Howard Lindzen. I salute him as an entrepreneur. I just am picking the argument, picking the fight. What's the best way to show people? What's the best way to get people to understand good speculation, good trading? And CNBC and Constant News, it's just not way to. It's not the way to go. You know, I mean, I've said this obviously, and I've put people like Maria Bartiromo in my film. I've had other bright people. I mean, this is not just Mike Covel talking. I mean, clearly, any cursory analysis can find how great traders think. Whether you're picking up Jack Schwager's books, the Market Wizards books, you're looking through my books, you can find the wisdom really quick of how to think about markets. And so, I look back and I say, are we ever going to reach a point? Are we going to ever reach a point where people just say, I don't know? They're going to think kind of like Ozzy would think and just say, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not a prophet. I just don't know. And be comfortable with the I don't know. Be comfortable with the I don't know is actually the ticket to success. Because if you say you don't know, if you admit that you can't predict, if you admit that all the news and information that's coming 24/7, never to stop, and if you listen to my Ryan Holiday podcast recently, where he talks about the manipulation of news, I mean, once again, most people just assume the news is accurate, okay? Or you quickly get into it, you learn that most of it's being manipulated or made up or frankly just fake. But if you can reach the point philosophically where you can say, I don't know what will happen, and build a strategy around I don't know. Build a strategy around I don't know. It opens up just a world of opportunity. Because then you're turning it on its head and you're saying, instead of having to know, I'll just wait for the movement. I'll wait for the trend. I'll wait to get on board. I'm just a passenger. Be comfortable with it. Just say to yourself, I don't know. What's your strategy? I mean, you know your strategy. That part you do know. You have to figure out your strategy. But once you figure out the strategy, when it comes to what the markets are going to do next, I don't know. I want to add something that's not really trend following related. It's more related to society. Ever since the summer of 2008, we've seen an epic meltdown of brokerage firms. Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers, MF Global, PFG, and now this Knight Capital, this high-frequency trading operation. I mean, I love the fact that they were punished in the capitalistic system. They made the wrong bets, and they were toast. That's the way it goes. I don't like the fact that some of them have been bailed out. Some of them have been saved. Goldman Sachs of the world, the JP Morgan of the world, the Morgan Stanleys of the world. They were all saved while others were allowed to die off. And they told us in the fall of 2008 that they had to suspend the free market system to save the free market system. They had to bail out the banks so the ATMs wouldn't work. And then they proceeded to lower our interest rates to zero to make all interest income go to nothing, right at the point in the time when the baby boomer generation is retiring. It's a pretty rough sled that you no longer get interest income. So how do you make money? How do you make money? And that's the big question that people have to ask. I think it's the reason that I continue to find people coming my direction because they want something alternative. They know the system is broken. They know no one is telling them the truth. And so they're looking for something that's real, something that makes sense, something that doesn't promise the impossible, like making 1% a month every month. That's impossible. And I think finally the notion of someone saying, look, here is a trading strategy called trend following. You're not going to make money every month. You're going to have big up months. You could have big down months. There's going to be volatility. But you put yourself in a position for when the big moves happen that you can hit it. You can make big money. And in the face of this nonstop up and down, this nonstop belief that people have in politicians, that they're going to fix it with no pain, no losses. I mean, trend following is the only panacea that I know of. The strategy of trend following, the strategy of not knowing when the next move will happen, but being in a position to benefit by either riding that trend up or riding that trend down to make money. To be opposite to what the mutual funds are doing or thinking. I mean, obviously the mutual fund strategy is really simple. Buy and hold. Don't think about it. I had a guy write me the other night. It was kind of fun. He said he used to work at Vanguard, the mutual fund company, and he got introduced to my first book, Trend Following. And he said that the people at Vanguard referred to Michael Covel as nuts. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. When people at Vanguard, this fantastically large mutual fund company that has snookered so many investors into believing a subpar, ridiculously poor trading strategy for decades. And they know it. I mean, they know it in their heart of hearts. They know it's a crappy strategy, this buy and hold, long only. But when they are lamenting me, when they are hitting me, when they know I'm the tip of the spear, when they know I'm coming in for the kill shot, and they call me nuts, oh, it's like getting a gold star from your favorite teacher. I'm like, thank you, please. Let's just hug it out. Come on, man, that's great. I mean, if I could wake up every day and have every major large financial publication say, get away from this guy Covel, he's terrible, he's awful, he's telling you bad things. I mean, I would just love it. This would be the ultimate confirmation that I'm on the right path, right? The more vehement the opposition, the deeper is the fear, right? I just love it. So call me nuts. Call me something. If you're not calling me something, I'm not doing my job. I see a time when those awake will understand how to make money in up, down, and surprise markets. Whether new trader or experienced, college student or financial advisor, protecting against a crash or just trying to make a lot of money, trend following offers everyone an answer in uncertain times. To get started immediately, send me an email, michael@covel.com. I will send you the right trend following steps to take along with my free video. But if you want to buy and hold, trust the government and trust Wall Street, this is absolutely not for you.